This is Drew from Arrow Brook Gaming, and I definitely do not listen to Discard to Reroll.
Touch roll trash, Daddy.
I won't roll trash.
That thing looks dangerous, man. Poorly made. The little kid made it.
Then you don't have to look at it anymore!
I'm 90% sure Matt is Kylo Ren.
Hey everybody, this is Agent of Zion from Artificery. I really don't listen to any Destiny podcasts, but top of the list of the ones that I don't listen to, Discard to Reroll.
Hey, this is Bobby Sapphire from the Hyperloops, and I legit never listen to Mr. Chip on Discard to Reroll.
Discard to Reroll.
It's Discard to Reroll. We're a podcast about a little dice and card game we like to call Star Wars Destiny. I'm your host, Mr. Chip, and thank you for listening. And wait a minute, there's something I hear. Hold on. Ray, we got spoilers, Ray. Someone up in Destiny Heaven looked down upon us and wanted to share the goods of hopefully not too crappy cards. Because last time I got Tickle Jabba, and that one sucked. But we got spoilers, Thunder. It's Ray, Julia. Ray, how are you? It's exciting stuff.
I don't know if you're more excited about that sound clip or the fact that we actually got spoilers.
It was really about the sound. Hey, we were going to be joined by some actual real competitive players from Arrow Brook Gaming. And the one guy that I know, Thunder, that you are very close with, Kyle, also known as Phoenix, which I was going to ask him what that even means. He's not here, and I want to make sure you're okay.
Now, if I controlled the soundboard, I would bring in some really sappy, sad music. But yeah, Kyle's my boy. I reach out to him a lot, and we do a lot of like theory crafting, and he always encourages me to make junky decks and pushes me hard to play them.
I had a sound clip for that, though. I'm going to play it anyway. It was this one. Remember that? Did you have My Buddy? You're too young. Drew's not,
it was
though.
that toy.
Yeah, it was a little toy. But he maybe another time he'll come on. You were like all excited. Like, I think Kyle's going to be on, Chip. It's going to be really great for the spoilers. It'll be great. I'm like, okay, great. He's not here, but it's all right. Because we have two fantastic players from Arrow Brook Gaming. It's Paul, Forever Fett, and Drew Warren. Drew and Paul, how's it going?
It's good, man. It's going good. Thanks for having us on. We really appreciate it. I got to say, man, your intro is so much better than mine on my podcast. I'm just like ashamed right now. I'm sitting here like, man, I need to really step my game up if I'm going to be around Chip.
No, they're good. And I know, Paul, they give you a lot of crap for being like, being the sound guy. You're also the graphics department. You like do anything technical. They expect you to know it all, Paul. Am I getting it right?
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on. They asked me all kinds of questions that I just have to turn around and look up. But I want to give you some big credit, Chip. I thought that intro was recorded. This is my first time on, and I didn't realize it was done live every time. It sounds exactly the same every time I listen.
Ray usually gives me crap about it, but thank you, Paul. Thank you.
That's awesome.
I appreciate it.
I wish I could do it. I appreciate the consistency in the sound quality.
Yeah, well, you do a great job over there. We love listening to you guys, and I know that the Thunda, where is it? Talks extremely highly of you and was super excited because, Ray, I haven't even talked to you since your last tournament, your big tournament in New Jersey.
Yeah, we have spoilers, so let's just move right.
No. What happened? Ray, here's the thing, Ray. You were a little nervous about your deck choice. I thought you locked in so you can get some good reps. You know, we talked about like the ABG guys and how they picked their deck and like they just knew everything, like what they were going to mulligan for, what they wanted to throw back, just like all the matchups, testing it against 8 decks they were talking about. And then I think it was the morning of, you said you were heading to Drew's house to borrow his deck because you were going to play that one.
No, it was like a couple days before. I went over to Drew's house. We cracked open some like 9.8% beers, and we got rolling some dice. And he pulls out the Snoke 3-wide, Sienna and Rebel Trader, and I'm throwing like everything into it, and it's just super consistent, really good. So I just kind of like said to him like towards the end of the night, I was like, "Hey, can like I play that deck?" And he's like, "Yeah." So I got some reps with him, and he's like, "Yeah, you're doing well enough." And that's what he does. That's what Drew says. Good enough. Get out there. And so I just he was kind enough to give me his cards, sleeves. He even gave me his deck box. And I had to keep his lucky little what was it? What's the lucky dice that you keep in there?
The LL30. I accidentally brought an LL30 die with me to nationals. Now it's my die, so I can't. If I'm playing a tournament, I got to have my lucky LL30 with me now.
Yeah, it's my unlucky die, so I quickly gave it back to him. It was awesome. He let me bring the deck, and I thought I put up a decent fight against some good players, but me and Paul had the same record, so I'll just end it with that.
Is that a shot fired, or is that like, I don't know, what were you 4-4?
I don't know, Paul. What were we?
We were 4-4, right? But you don't have to take it as bad as I do. I lived the dream. I went from 4-0 to 4-4.
Right. Oh no!
Yeah.
So being the guy in the outside looking in, it is so hard. And I know you guys are in the thick of it and competing, and it's crazy in that place, which it sounds like it got really crazy towards the end. But getting updates from Ray, it's like talking to a mute. I got nothing. The only updates I'm getting are from Drew, whose fire alarm's going off in the background of his stream. He's commentating, and he's telling me, well, this just in, the ABG guys, he's reading through the 14 people who are part of ABG now. And, I'm getting blow by blows on that. And then, which makes sense. It's an ABG stream. Actually, it wasn't. I think it was Golden Dice. But then I get the Golden Dice updates, and then I get, I don't know, some guy down the street who went, and Frenchie, wherever that guy is, I'm getting updates on him. Meanwhile, I'm like screaming, could you tell me how the Thunda did? And he's like, oh, yeah, I think he just lost. That's pretty much what it was. But
I was trying to get updates on Ray all day, and nobody had any clue what it was. I was like texting everybody, like, can somebody please tell me how Ray is doing? Not just because I wanted to announce it, but I was personally interested in seeing how he was doing. And I never got one from anybody. At some point where somebody was like, Ray's like 1 and 2, and I was like, oh, he's probably not a happy camper right now.
It gets me out of my groove. I don't want to, anytime I get done playing, I'm setting up for the next game, even though I don't know what I'm playing against. It's just this, you got to get in the groove. And I like to socialize, and people were asking me to take pictures with them and things like that.
Oh, it's got to be so hard living the Thunda life. You know what I mean? It's really tough. I think the reason why Drew was trying to get updates was to make sure his entire deck was safe, because I think he gave you Vader's fists out the wazoo. So he's like, am I going to get these things back, or did the guy go throw them in a lake? But
that was probably like a $200 deck right there with the Snooks and the fists. I don't know. Did I ever get that back? I don't even know.
It's with your brother.
I'm just kidding.
See, that's you're good when you're like, I don't know, did I get my $200 deck back? I don't know, maybe not. Who knows? But listen, you don't need that deck anymore, Drew, because there are new cards on their way. The spoilers are here, and it's I was so excited to have some to share. And then all of a sudden, 75 spoilers came out the day before. I was figuring it's that leak for Spirit of Rebellion when some guy in Poland put the whole set out. So I don't. Do you think, Ray, these are still special? Do you think these are 2 good ones we got?
I'm excited. I think that they're really good ones. I'm excited to get into them. I want to see what our guests here have to say about them, and I want to push them out to the community as quickly as possible, for sure.
Yeah, and so I'm glad Paul is here, because Paul he minored in art in college, and he's got some opinions on Destiny art. It's very collectible, the original pieces here, and I'm very excited to get his take on these 2 cards. Let's start with it, though. So people were thinking we're going to get some red heroes, and maybe we will, but right now we had to finish up yellow, and it's Maz Kanata. She is the Canny Negotiator. She has 10 health for 1013. By the way, Ray, it's card number 90, if you care. Card number 90. 2 range, 2 indirect, 1 focus, 1 shield, a resource, and a big blank. And then this one, get ready for it. She's a scoundrel, by the way. So if we're thinking tribe, she's a scoundrel. Power action. An opponent chooses and does 1. You choose and do 2 others. Deal 1 indirect damage to a player. Turn an opponent's die to any side. Reroll any number of your dice. Draw a card. So you power action in. Opponent chooses 1 first, and then you do 2. Ray, first take on this. 1013, Maz.
I think she's super interesting. She's got decent damage sides, and I don't know if that power action is more going to be fun. As it's going to be more fun than I think overall effective. But I think that the big plus is her 10 points for 10 health, and then you get access to that yellow. So I don't think it's a bad card. I'll certainly sleeve it up and have fun with letting my opponent pick to do something every round.
That sounds exciting. Guys from ABG, what do you think about this Maz?
I like the art on it. I'll start with that. Okay. I think the art is really nice. This is some of the better artwork we have from this set. In terms of a competitive card, I'm kind of torn on it. I feel like the power action creates some really, really weird sequencing problems for you, which I don't like. But overall, it feels like it's a relatively strong power action. It's on the like I'm interested in trying to play this card. My best guess is that I'm going to play this 2 or 3 times and then not see it again for a while. But it's definitely a very interesting card. I probably like her more at 13 than I do at 10. But I guess there probably are some applications to play her at 10 also.
Yeah, right off the bat, this power action is interesting. What's the best thing your opponent can do with this power action, right? Because if you get to reroll any number of your dice and draw a card, that's pretty good. So they have to take one of those, right?
So the scary thing about this is your opponent does one first, and like if they have a bunch of dice in their pool, it's reroll any number of your dice. So they could go ahead and just reroll. I'm assuming that means they can reroll all of their dice and then get ambush. That's what scares me about her power action the most, is like if there's dice in the pool already, your opponent can just, let's say they have 6 dice in the pool, they can reroll and then they can just resolve them with their turn.
Yeah, I just don't think you can use this power action if your opponent has a pool full of dice. Right. I think if you use it early, they're going to draw a card, right? I don't think they'll ever take deal 1 indirect damage.
Yeah, so that's the problem for me, is like, where do you use it? If you use it at the end of the turn when like the turn's like already over, they're going to deal an indirect damage to you. If you do it early in the turn, they're probably before you have dice in your pool, they're probably going to draw a card. Like the fact that they get to do something first to me creates some issues, and they're probably going to get very good value out of it if they're playing around the power action.
Yeah, it's a shame because that dice is really good. And I'm thinking 10-13. What's in the wheelhouse for 13-point characters? You got Ayla, right? She's 13. Like, what else have we seen? It's 13 for Elite.
Yoda.
Yeah, Yoda's pretty good.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's the space
Ayla
there.
Yoda.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is actually going to sound weird, but like there's no way this could be competitive. But I kind of like pairing her with new Ezra, where like you have the ability to turn an opponent's dice. Like you can do it after the turn. So like turn an opponent's dice, you turn one of their dice and then resolve it with Ezra, or like if they choose to do that action for you, then you get max value out of your turn, where you're able to, draw a card, deal an indirect, or reroll any number of your dice. So like, I guess that kind of makes sense, but also new Ezra is kind of terrible, so no, it doesn't. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know where she fits. Cool power action, cool mechanic. I'm not sold on her competitively.
Good health.
Good health. That's true.
Yep.
So there you go, everybody.
Damage sides, focus, resource. Could you find a home for her in like a vehicle support deck without using her power action?
I think that's where it would have to go, right? And like we talked with Ray's guy, with Phoenix, a lot about this. It feels bad never having draw for vehicle decks, right? So that's a potential strength to this deck. Is having the draw, and if you don't get the draw, then you're going to turn dice probably, which is strong. We've tried Ezra in vehicle decks to try to get some draws going, and it generally feels pretty bad. So that's my initial thought, is that this is probably a support deck based character.
Right. So we're lukewarm right now. Great art. I mean, it's tough not to be better than her original art, which looked like, I don't know, my ass after a bath. I mean, it was just terrible. It was terrible. Like, it really was bad. But Paul, do you have the second card over there?
Yeah, I can read it here. It's a card called Moxie. It's 2-cost upgrade ability. Its die sides are a focus, a shield, a resource, and 2 specials and a blank. And the special ability is use a special ability or a power action on attached character, even if it was used this round.
So the first thing you think is cunning, right? I mean, but cunning, Ray, we were just talking about it earlier. Cunning's a yellow character only. So Then the second piece is power action. So I started to go through like all of the power actions that this card could possibly break or abuse. And if you go through the list, like I mean, could this be on Leia? Power action?
That's what we were thinking, like the Leia Lando 2 mill deck, and then now you're able to use Leia's power action twice in a turn. I think that's pretty gross.
Huh. That's interesting. I hadn't thought of that as a mill deck type application.
Oh, give us the ding, Chip.
Oh, I got it right here.
We beat
got
the competitive
it. We did it,
guys.
ladies and
We got
gentlemen.
there before them.
We did it. We actually trumped the ABG guys with an idea. No. So thinking about power actions, I was starting to make a little list. I can't find it now. My daughter just got back from Paw Patrol, by the way. She just whacked me with some sort of I don't know, they're giving lightsabers out. I didn't know any of those characters had lightsabers. So without yellow, right? Because cunning on yellow, I mean, this is basically the same thing. And I don't know, that didn't really break the meta. You got Lobot special, right? You could use it on that. Yoda, obviously. You got, don't laugh at, are you laughing at Lobot? Who's laughing at Lobot over there?
Because you said Lobot is back, baby. That's what you said on the phone with me.
Lobot is back. Lobot is back. Lobot, think about this. It's long-term plan on a stick, baby. Because you only put... She's hitting me with this freaking sword. Lobot is add 2 to the value of a die. Resolve it. That's amazing. He's going to break the meta. Yoda, you got Poe. What about that? You played Poe, Ray. You like him? Not Poe Ray, but you like Poe. Ayla, Wedge power action, Jedi Sentinel, Leia power action, Obi-Wan power action, and Mace. There you go. That's Moxie. What do you think, guys? Terrible? Good? Possibilities?
I think this is a card you're going to have to watch for in the future, too, right? Like every hero, and it's hero only. I didn't read that part out loud, but I think this card you're going to have to look from the future as we get better and better power actions. I'm just looking for a power action that deals damage, and I don't really see one in the hero suite that does damage.
Right.
Like if this could be used like a Tarkin power action or a Snoke type impact power action, it would be a lot better.
Oh, I got another one. We had another one. Put it in a vehicle deck with Wedge, and now you could double focus. Oh.
So my immediate reaction to this card is that this potentially could make Yoda Boosh or Yoda Hondo somewhat viable in Standard again, right? Like I think we kind of universally agree in the competitive world that those two decks take big hits with the loss of Cunning and loss of Second Chance. So I think this is something that potentially helps those two decks. Does it put them over the edge to being playable and competitive in what's now Trilogy, soon to be Standard format? I'm going to say probably not. But this definitely gives Yoda Boosh another tool. And I think you're going to see a lot of 3-wide and even 4-wide going into Standard with rotation. And I think maybe Yoda Boosh with this card we'll see play. So I'm gonna put this in we'll probably see some competitive play category. It immensely helps that deck for sure.
They hated Moxie. So I'm very disappointed. I thought you guys were gonna love Moxie. I thought this was the one.
I like it. I think it is a we'll see competitive. I don't think it's like a game-breaking competitive play, but it's in a couple of niche decks. It's going to, like, specifically to Yoda Boosh. Anybody who plays Yoda Boosh in Standard next set will run Moxie. I 100% guarantee it.
Yoda Boosh.
I would agree with that. My thing is, like I was saying, I don't know if you can include this 2-resource upgrade unless your special or power action deals damage, right? Or like dramatically enhances your win condition. Otherwise, I think this is just kind of fun, but not broken. Like Cunning was so much better because it could copy any card's power action. This is like a more balanced version of Cunning.
I think you made a really good point, though, about this being a card to watch for future sets. Like anytime a new power action or a new special comes out, we have to take a look at this. You have to think about, like, hey, is this something, if there's a ridiculously good cost to yellow vehicle, does it make sense to start playing this with Lando? It's just another one of these cards that anytime we see a new card, you have to immediately look at Moxie and see, like, is this a card that we could try to break now?
Right, because just think about the impactful power actions on the villain side. Like, if we were to ever get a hero version of Tarkin, remove dice to deal indirect, this would be broken on Tarkin, right?
Oh, like, that would be insane.
This would be broken on Snoke. But those are the two best power actions in the game. Like, I don't know if heroes have a power action of that impact. Like, I'm more zoned in on the power action copy than the copying the special one more time.
And remember, too, there are ways to play this as villain now. You have right, so that's that. Like, there is a way to get this to to the villain side, right? So you could run like 1 dice Tarkin, 2 dice Emphas Nest, and Moxie, and you could Tarkin power action twice.
Yeah, that's
so you're
nasty.
probably not going to be able to do it on 3 die, but it's, you know, it's a thought.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
Power action all day. I agree with you on that one. Ray, what were you going to say before you were transitioning to what now? The State of Destiny?
Listen, you interrupted me 18 times.
No, I just want to know what you wanted.
I was just sitting back listening. First,
I want to hear what you lost to in Booten with the deck from the national champion. I want to hear what you.
I lost to.
You were going to roll some crazy that you're like, I got it. Here it is, Chip. I've figured it out. It's the night before. I'm like, all right, I think I know what he's going to run. It's going to be great. You're like, you ever heard of the card Recycle? I'm like, Recycle? What the hell are you talking about, Recycle? It's going to run double down, 3 recycles. It's like, holy shit, Ray. What kind of thing are you going to run? Well, Kyle's going to run. It's going to be great.
I was just going to say that, Chip. Now you know what it's like having Phoenix on your team.
Right.
Yep. It's just every day of our right here.
3 recycles. All right.
He's got a vision. That's why I like Phoenix.
I'm kidding you, Ray. Go ahead. Every deck I run now, Ray's built.
Yeah, this is true.
But go ahead.
And then he tells me how amazing I am, and then I take my deck builds over to the ABG guys, and I just get smashed.
Yeah.
And then I go back to Chip and say, hey, maybe you should probably stop playing that deck.
He's like, Drew said, I'm getting better. I'm definitely getting better. Like, okay, well, it's good. Good. Anyway, Ray, go ahead. I cut you off.
I wanted to get their take on how they feel the next, after rotation goes, because I'm feeling like we're going kind of back to the basics. That's the overall feeling that I've been having, playing with a few of these cards at, undisclosed locations. It just feels like it's, you can anticipate things a little bit better. There is no friends in high places into a bomb. There is no commando raid. Your whole hand and turn is pretty much over. I just think it really is kind of fair, and I'm surprised how balanced it does feel. But I just wanted to get your take because I know you guys grind games all the time.
Paul, why don't you start, because you've been playing Convergence more than I have. So let's start with the professional opinion, then I'll give mine.
Yeah, after that lead up, and now I'm going to say something completely wrong. No, I think like a big thing that you see with the consistency and the slowness of it and the lack of explosive plays is that these cards are all designed now to interact together. Like with our previous block, we had one designer's cards with another designer's cards. And now with like building through rotation, like I think there's a little bit more forethought in where they're going. And we've lost a lot of the Awakenings block, which again, when any card game comes out, like it's difficult to envision how the card you make in set 1 is going to impact the card in set 7, or set 6, or wherever we were at. So it's difficult to understand that why a 0 cost dice card is going to be prevalent in every format until it goes away, right? Or how something like Commando Raid will one day be a severe problem when it wasn't for months. So we are lacking these bombs, but I'm sure somewhere in the set there are bombs hidden, right? So I just don't know if we've done the reps yet to find them. I'll tell you one thing that's different now is deck building's a little different with the limited amount of characters you have available. It feels different. You don't have a good character at every point cost all the time, so that's been a bit of a challenge from time to time. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm with Ray. It's fun. It's like a new game, kind of. It's played a little differently.
My favorite is to hear you guys. You went like 180 on Force Illusion. Like if you listen to some of your earlier podcasts, like Force Illusion, that the card needs to be banned or it needs to be unique. Like one. Now you're like, you know what? It's all right. It'll be fine. Like we really need that card. And are you worried that is it just power creep, or what are you worried about with that card? Now you feel like it's okay. Before we were all terrified of it.
So my opinion on Force Illusion and why I think it should be reprinted now is that it's a really great catch-all. Like it's just kind of like hey, like I need a way to stabilize the game, and Force Illusion does that for you. And with rotation, there's really nothing else that does that. There's ways to play around Force Illusion. I personally think that the best thing to do is to reprint it as a blue character only, where it's like a little bit less powerful in like a Snoke 3-wide, but still really helps out the mono blue decks. I am personally really concerned with anything that is not a support deck or a mill deck going into rotation. I feel like middle is so weak. I feel like Shadowcaster is just so good. There's not a lot of great ways to deal with it. And I feel like Force Illusion is a card where if you're playing a middle that like, hey, like I get one, this is one less, this takes the turn away from Shadowcaster at great expense to my deck. I just really think supports and vehicles are in general are just in such a great spot right now. And I think Force Illusion helps deal with that a little bit, especially if you're reprinting it in a blue character only, makeup.
It's funny. I brought to our local. It was a trilogy night. I'm like, let me build this. ABG you had a build on TTS or on the DB. And
who said TTS?
What's that? TTS? You already were selling proxies for Jackalman. That's great.
Okay. Moving on.
It was your Shadowcaster reset deck, but it was what was it? Elite Rebel Engineer.
Yep.
Armored Reinforcement. I'm like, let me just try this deck. I mean, I've seen it. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of not my thing. That deck is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, right? Yeah.
So, I mean, I just don't see anything beating that.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about, is that I don't necessarily know if it's the best deck going into the format, but a middle has no chance in the deck. There's like, other than Vader getting Fear and Dead Men down, possibly even twice to win, nothing that's middle beats that deck. I mean, we tested that through everything, and with the Snoke nerf, it's even better now into the field. And that's what I'm concerned about, is you're going to have, I feel like right now, if I'm playing Worlds tomorrow, there's no way I'm not bringing a vehicle deck. They're so much better than everything else. And I just feel like FFG is a little off on their power levels. I mean, we've seen Wat Tambor, and we've seen War Santeca, and we've seen is it Satine Kryze? They're making these support characters so good. The vehicles keep getting better. Mods are ridiculous, and middle has gotten very little help. And that's, I'm worried that that's going to be a problem for the game.
My favorite thing is you just said 3 characters that I swear are in like Deep Space Nine. Like, what is that? Star Wars characters you just said? What did you said? Satan Christ? What kind of cards are you talking about? It's funny.
Satine Kryze.
Yes, yeah. Satine Kryze. Yes.
Chip, it's still my favorite when you pronounce that name Kryze.
Well, what is it?
Crazy.
I don't know, man.
I'm only through season 1. I'm like, is
it Kryze? Is it Satine and Bo-Katan Kryze? Is that how it's pronounced? I don't even know.
I think this is where Paul steps in and says, guys, all right, just leave it to me. Here's the lore on this character. I'm going to break it down for you in 15 minutes or less. Here's what Satine means and why she has an indirect side. Here's why she does, because it fits the theme.
All right, so I'm going to tell you, I'm rapid fire trying to YouTube somebody who can pronounce this, right? Because like I have a 5th pronunciation of it. I'm like, Kryze, is that how you say it? Kryze? I'm like, I don't know how you pronounce it. I'm trying to see if someone in Clone Wars says their last name. But I got no lore on her. She's a TV show character, so she's too close to when Disney bought out and ruined my entire life. So
is Wat Tambor I just saw on Clone Wars. Actually, I'm in season 1 of Clone Wars, and they said his name. And I'm like, holy crap, that guy's going to be in freaking Destiny. I think we have to be careful here, because we're fine with FF. We're fine with saying TTS. We're fine with saying proxy spoilers. But when we start insulting the mouse, I think that's when that's when FFG comes for us. That's right. Either that or I rebel. So I mean, she's going to be all over us.
And can we just point out that it wasn't Ray that insulted the mouse? So
no, I love Disney. I'm not the one who said Satan Christ. That's freaking Drew Warren, ladies and gentlemen. The mother's a teacher, by the way. So just for what that's worth. It's Ray, where do you think things are? Are you excited for the upcoming meta?
I am excited. Like I was saying, I think things have slowed down, but then there is that looming presence of Shadowcaster, and I maybe we'll get a Holocron update, but I don't see how you really fix Shadowcaster. I don't know what you would do to it to make it fair in the sense of just the damage on the card is ridiculous. But I think I don't know. I'm ready to go back to. I think the thing that was bothering me about this previous meta was towards the end of it. Sometimes there's explosive plays that you just can't interact with. There's nothing you could do, off of a 4-speed into stuff, or like Friends in High Places or commando raids. And it was just, I don't know, it just became like, well, I'm playing the game the best I can. I'm sequencing properly, and I'm going to give and take my, what my opponent's dishing out at me. But then out of nowhere, something just goes wild, and it's usually like one card. And to me, I like when, over time cards add value to your game state and things like that. But bombs that just make it unwinnable from the state it currently ends up at, I just, for me, I don't like that element of the game. And I think that Shadowcaster and the tools that we have, like Drew was saying, kind of makes that, like, once they get the Shadowcaster down, you better hope you're playing yellow, and then you have enough character dice to play Vandalize at the appropriate time. Like, it's going to be tough.
Vandalize is tough, though. I mean, really, like, what is it? 4, right, for Shadowcaster?
6, right? No, 4.
Yeah.
Is that what it costs?
It's just hard. I found that's just hard to pull off.
And your opponent can play around that. So as soon as you roll in a character, they just pop one of the character dice, and then they're safe for that entire turn. Like, they don't have to worry about it. But that's my issue. Is in the previous meta we had the EMP grenade, we had the aerial assault. What was it called? The red one.
Oh, surgical strike.
Surgical strike. Neither of those words were in it. Yeah. And
still alliteration.
Yeah,
you were close. You were close.
Yeah. So we had some ways to deal with it in various colors, and I don't know. This seems like it's going to go unchecked.
So there is one thing I think FFG could do to touch it up in a holocron that's pretty simple, which is like make armored reinforcement more deck building points. I think that would be a knockback to Shadowcaster. I think you'd have to play it a different way because you wouldn't be able to guarantee getting it from your deck for one less resource. So let's say they touched up Thede and touched up Armored Reinforcement. I think that would impact that deck a pretty good deal amount. And the other card, Yellow Hero, has to deal with it as N1, right? N1 can deal with it pretty well.
Yep.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's funny. They can't even agree whether or not it's an inherent die ability. Did you see all that discussion about that? Whether or not
I just go with whatever Gandork says. That's right. He's the rules Jesus as far as I'm concerned.
Fair enough. That'd be a hell of a t-shirt.
My issue with things like that is like, okay, so the two glaring ways that we're going to be able to deal with it are in yellow. And like, I was kind of quiet during the Force Illusion talk, but like, I really want to start seeing cards like, okay, take a Force Illusion, take the same principle as Force Illusion and make it in every single color. Make it a level playing field that like this type of card, sure, we would like it in every color and it's neutral.
I think you can just make it gray then, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then you just make it that way. Or you could say make it in every color and then you have to be able to spot, the color, and play it like that or that color only, something like that. So it does have a little bit of a drawback. But, other card games do that where they find something that works and they just print it in all the factions. And it's just like, okay, cool, this is fair. So like Vandalize, why couldn't you just make that gray? And then, you have everybody has access to it. Gray neutral, you're good to go. And now it's something that everyone needs to be concerned about. If you're playing against a blue hero deck in this current meta and you're rolling out Shadowcaster, you have little to be concerned about with your hand or, your Shadowcaster getting wiped off the board.
So can I ask a question for the group?
Chip, you're in charge.
Yeah, yes. Please. I just want to see how long no one would say anything.
I'm sitting here without a webcam on with my hand.
Okay. Yes, please ask away.
So do you think with the supports that we've seen so far, Snoke has kind of been caught? Or do you think Snoke is still the big bad in terms of supports?
Are you saying as far as support characters or supports like vehicles?
Yeah, like if you're going to build a vehicle based deck, is it feasible to start without Snoke or Yoda?
I think because I'm on a roll talking, so I think yes. I've been putting character pairings together that you can get 5 dice, 28 health, and rainbow. You can't do that in the previous meta. That's the crazy that you can get a vehicle deck with decent support characters, 28 health, rainbow, and 5 dice. I don't know. It seems like if someone said, "Hey, play this deck," that seems good.
Yeah, I mean, so that's sometimes the problem with like new cards, that we're tempted to play them, but then if we really look at it, is it better just to have Snoke Rainbow? The health is phenomenal, but does Snoke's dice and ability do more for us? right? Does being able to gain all those resources and having multiple focus sides do more for us than having 4 or 5 characters with maybe subpar dice? Like, that's the question where I'm at. Because, like, the interesting character, right, with these support decks is General Grievous, with how he can make the droids so cheap and you can go way out wide. But at the same time, I don't know yet. I haven't tested enough to know that if it's just better to have Snoke's power action and his actual dice sides.
I think Snoke will always be. I think you'll always have to have that balance or that conversation in your head, because Snoke's ability makes up for, you could technically say, 2 additional dice, because we don't see a bunch of 2 resource sides. So if you're Snoking that 1 die for 3 resources, that's technically, like, I mean, if we really think about it, you're resolving 3 resource dice, and we don't see that too often. We can, you could certainly do 2 resources off of something and 1 over here. But no, it's just too much value, and it can come out of nowhere. So yeah, I think what your point on that is spot on, as far as that's the question you're always going to have to ask yourself.
It's some really interesting math, and I was talking with Phoenix about this yesterday. Is like, and Phoenix is firmly in the camp of, like, Snoke has kind of been caught in power level by Wat Tambor a little bit, which is good. I think that's what I've been calling for that for a long time. Rather than nerfing Snoke and nerfing Yoda, we need alternatives to them. So it's glad to see that I'm glad to see FFG actually listen to that instead of just, hey, we're going to make Yoda 15 and Snoke 17 and go figure out how to play the game another way. So kudos to them for that. But I just, it's going to come down to, is Wat Tambor playing on 2 or 3 resources with an extra activation or a free roll in of the support he plays every turn? Is that going to be better than Snoke dropping a fist on turn 1? Is the real question. And is there a world that makes sense where you play both of them and it's just completely broken?
Yeah. Help me understand how Wat, why are people thinking he's amazing? Because you get to play a support. You still have to pay for the support.
Yep. So you pay for the support, but his power action is play a support from your hand and roll its dice into. So you get 2 activations out of it the turn that you play it. So it's basically like that same thing as playing a fist, where the first time you play it, you get 3.
Right.
The second time you get 2. It's like a scaled down version of that a little bit. He doesn't interact with fist, obviously, because it's like it duplicates the effect. But it's, for somebody who's 9-12 in points with 9 health instead of 12-14, it's an alternative to Snoke, at least, right? It's, if you want to go villain vehicles, there's something else there other than Snoke now. Where that will land in testing, I still don't know. But I feel like there's at least an alternative to playing Snoke, which is nice.
Here, I got the card pulled up. I'll read it for the listeners. It's Wat Tambor.
What you call him?
Tambor. Is that his name? Tambor?
I thought it was Wat Tambor, but I could be wrong.
No, you're right.
You call them tempura.
T-A-M-P-O-R.
Tempura is something you had for dinner. But go ahead. Read Wat. Go ahead.
So it's a villain card. It's card number 22. It's a rare. 9 health. It's 9/12 play cost. Die sides are 1 indirect, 1 focus, 2 focus, resource blank. It's a character leader. So if that becomes relevant, the leader part with what you want to play. And then power action, like Drew said, it's play a support from your hand, paying its cost, then roll that support's die into your pool.
Yeah, so I mean, if you could somehow hit like a planetary bombardment, forget it. I think you just win off that state. You're probably not going to hit it with Wat Tambor, but it's.
Let me read you one. I won't say the name, but just see what you think of this. This has 11 health. It's 12-14. It's 2 indirect, 1 focus, 2 focus, 1 disrupt, 1 resource, and a blank. Here's the power action. Deal 1 damage to another one of your characters to resolve one of its character dice, increasing its value by 2. That sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, it's still really good. There's no doubt about it. Snoke and Yoda, I think, are still, if what we have so far, if you're listing the top 5 characters going into the set, I don't think there's any doubt you can skip them there. The other character from a previous set that I think has gotten insanely good with this set is Dr. Aphra again. I think Dr. Aphra has gotten so much better. I think Reprogram has gotten so much better because there's more targets than just BT1 and 000 for it now. I really think Aphra General Grievous Double Battle Droid is a potential just meta crusher. That's the one non-Shadowcaster deck I've been looking at. I just think that 31 health is scary in any deck. It's scary to think that you could hit it with 2 force waves and still do nothing. That's what really scares me about that deck's health pool.
What about Watto? I feel like Watto, when I heard that one, out of all the cards that I've heard, not being able to remove its dice with events. I mean, there are ways to get rid of them. You just can't remove them with an event. But the power action on Watto is spend 1 resource, choose a symbol to reroll a die. If it rolls the symbol, gain 2 resources. That is a 9/12, 9 health, 2 disrupt, 1 discard, 1 resource, 2 resources for 1 resource, plus 2 resources in a blank.
Did you say choosing?
What did I say?
Now that we're nitpicking, you said choosing.
Did I say choosing?
You said choosing symbol.
So choosing?
Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah, no one will ever hear that because that's going to be gone from the ether. if it rolls the chosen symbol, gain 2 resources. Antonio Jose Mendocino, he's the guy who drew it. That's what it says, but there's no image of it. I like that card. Yeah. I think the card's good.
I think he's pretty good. I haven't figured out where yet he has a home, right? And obviously Scream support deck with that kind of resource generation. But my thing with Watto is you can't mitigate his dice, but if you were to go to 2 dice and play him at 12, you just kill him to mitigate his dice.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure he has a home yet, but obviously it's pretty powerful to not be able to interact with dice, right? That's good.
And that's why they reprinted Crime Lord.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
That's why when I get my 6 boxes, I'm going to have to deal with 8 duplicate legendary Crime Lords because of Watto.
I have 8 more cards I want to talk about, but can we actually talk about being reprinted as a legendary? Is that not completely ridiculous to anybody else?
Say it one more time because you cut off. What is it?
They reprinted Crime Lord as a legendary.
It's a fun card.
No, I think that's heinous. It should have just been reprinted as a rare.
Yeah,
it's kind of a miniature slap in the face to those of us who are trying to get the product. You know what I mean? What a bummer to open your 35-cent legendary.
It's a slap in the face to the people who have been playing the game for a long time.
Right. To those of us who already have Crime Lords. But thank God it's in this format, right? Because what would we do without Crime Lord?
I feel like the designers, or I feel they're definitely we are going to slap them in the face, put the Crime Lord in. Perfect. But seriously, I think it should be a policy, you just downgrade the level of rarity, right?
And that's great, right? For old players, they can get old cards with a downgraded rarity. Everybody wins.
Yep. And I don't think anybody who owns 3 Crime Lords that are worth $7 would complain about that right now. There wouldn't be oh my god, my Crime Lord's worthless.
Right. It's more about that it takes the slot of another legendary that it's just frustrating.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed.
Yep. Well, you can have
pull that. Everyone I pull is frustrating.
I have 9 Rebellion leaders with your name on it, Drew. They're ready for you. What are the cards? You said you had some cards that you wanted to talk about. What are the ones that are striking you?
Yeah, so I think Electromagnetic Pulse, the removal card, 0 cost, remove a droid or a vehicle die, is insanely good. I think that's going to end up being a 2 of in basically every deck. I like a lot of the 0 cost removal. I think Sinister Peace is probably going to see play. Discard a card, remove a die showing a value of 2 or more. I think Forsaken, which is remove a die showing 2 or less. If you have, if anyone has exactly 1 dice in their pool, that's amazing for 3-wide decks. I think there's some really, really choice 0 cost removal that's going to see play in a lot of decks right now, which I like. I like Mace Windu a lot. If we want to talk more about characters, I think that of all the middle potential, I think that's the highest, just because there's a world where he could out-ramp some of the vehicle decks. There's a lot of really good cards in this set. I feel better right now about this set than I did about the previous one in terms of the cards we're seeing.
Have you played with Mace yet, Drew? A little bit?
I haven't, no.
Because it's difficult, unless he's on the rollout and on feed, there's not that many 2-drops to ramp to.
So I think I figured out where it's supposed to work. I think you're supposed to go after the what's the mastery card? The one below it,
Soresu Mastery or whatever.
Yeah, the 2-drop one.
Training.
So you grab that one, and then you're able to kind of be defensive and tank out a little bit. And then once you get this Soresu, whatever. I've been playtesting with the Soresu Mastery, the 3-drop one. And
I love how
I can't say the word.
No, this set has so many cards that I have no idea how to say. This is going to be great.
Yeah, so I've been playtesting with that, and that card, it allows you to tank like crazy. Like I was playing against Vader's Fist, and I had that out. I resolved the special, took 2 shields, and then dropped that and removed the Vader's Fist damage. So it just seems like they do have ways to like tank out.
Yeah, so like I see that card's obviously good, but that's a pretty serious amount of combo pieces. So like I like Mace if we continue to get good upgrades for him to play. But that's my other problem with middle that we were talking about. Like I don't see these great 2-cost upgrades that have been previously been like the bread and butter of middle, right? Like play an upgrade, roll out your characters, take it on the shields or mitigate, right? Like that's middle's wheelhouse. But like where are these 2-cost upgrades to play? Like I see 3-cost upgrades and I see 1-cost supports, but I don't see 2-cost upgrades. Yeah, I know there are a few.
Especially for blue. There's not a lot.
Yeah, my feeling is I think that you really have to just embrace the defensive, tankiness of it. And it's like we have 2-cost upgrades now that are just like jammed with a bunch of shields. What was that Republic armor, like the Jedi armor? Like I think that's a good value card, but I think you just have to embrace the tankiness of what blue has, and I guess that's what they're bringing back. Like, with reprints like defensive stance or something.
Oh, God.
Yeah, they really want you to like just start putting shields on them. That's it.
Yeah, so like my question with that playstyle, and I get it, build a ton of shields, and we have a card that lets you go to 5 shields if you want to. Like, at what point do you just try? Where do you win the game? Like, what's your win condition? Is your win condition like I'm going to get 5 shields and a Taru strike with my character dice? Like, how do I win? I'm getting the shields. I like the idea of having a lot of shields. I like the idea of being able to ramp with shields. Like, how do I win the game, though, is what I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, I got it for you.
The words right. Go ahead.
I got it.
35 minutes goes by pretty fast.
Here's the answer.
Thanks, Brad. Real enjoyable tournament, bro.
You save.
That's what I think. You just lose slower, right? That's what all these shields do. You end up losing the game slower. Like, yeah, you eat the first couple fists, but the turn you can't get the shields, fist just kills your character, and you didn't do enough damage to win.
Guys, I'm going to give you something. I know that all of you are very competitive. You're very successful. But here's what you do. You tank up. Drew, you got 1 resource left. You throw it out there. You play a support. It's a rogue uncommon hero. It's card 100. It's called Laser Tripwire. Player activates their character. Boom. Done. Game over, right? Game over. I mean, this is the stuff, guys. You got to think outside the box.
This is why we need you, Chip. This is why right here.
Because I'm playing late. I feel like that's what's his name? Dave Caruana. Is that the guy's name? You say he plays all these cards that you got to stop and read the cards he plays. Laser Tripwire, man. That card's going to be broken. It's already broken.
He'll be running 2 of those, I promise.
Actually, he'll be running 0, and I'll tell you why. Because it's a hero card.
Yep, there you go. Yep, true.
Game over.
That means Kyle will be running 3 in a double down deck.
Yeah, right.
That's also very possible.
Yes.
Actually, I'm really upset at Paul for a bunch of things. One thing is that I'm looking at my Laserdisc player that I had to buy after you had Cuenca on your show, and you were talking about the Star Wars trilogy. Like, I don't know, there was some VHS collection, and then I went out and bought the Laserdisc because it's the only one that has.
Does it work?
It does. It's fantastic. It's so fantastic. It was cheap. I mean, $70, but yep. It's perfect. But the other thing I did after your last podcast, which was fantastic, you had Mike Gem on. It was just really, really good. And I started to find all my freaking Stormtrooper dice because I want to make that deck. I feel like Phasma has a chance. Is this just a fun card, or do you think, Paul, like this could actually be competitive with Phasma?
I haven't taken her out yet. I have a deck built in the database for this week to mess around with, but I think she might be good in the onset. And more I'm really focusing on her is we have this new trilogies format, right? Which is 1 set.
Right.
And she really speaks to me in that, right? Because just so much dice to deal with. Yeah. Right off the bat, without having to spend a resource or ramp a card, you get all those dice. So she's very tempting to me in trilogies with all those dice. It's just a lot of pressure on your opponent should you be able to roll out chunks of damage. Like, we don't have blowout mitigation in this set. So I'm not sure how you handle if you end up starting to roll 2 sides on your boss dice to go with her. Like, it could get dicey in a hurry. No pun intended.
I wish
you eat the damage and you get Shadowcaster out, and then you just win with Shadowcaster.
But that's not. So I'm talking trilogies, right? Which is now 1 set.
Oh, that's right. Okay,
right. Yeah. Like, that's why I think she might be really good. And like, we're gonna play that in GQs. We're gonna play that where we play that. So I'm pretty stoked because I think she's going to be pretty good in that format because we've never seen something in this format that small that generates 4 dice all on her own, right? So like she's kind of brings a 5 dice start.
Is she 21 or 22?
21.
21. So you could play her with the First Order Stormtrooper and that like Trooper indirect plot.
It's almost like they made those cards to work together.
Interesting.
And Palpatine's still there too. So, like in terms of your legendary, other than the fact we're all going to get crime lords up the wazoo, and I'm sure we're going to hear about it as freaking Ray live streams from his toilet, because that's where he goes to open his cases of cards, which I learned. Unfortunately, I can never unsee that, even though I didn't see it.
It's a hard life when you have two kids that steal the dice and throw them around the room.
I'm hearing dice drop on the floor. I'm like, is that dropping on ceramic tile? What's going on there? Yeah, I'm taking a dump. It's good. All right, good. Thank you.
I have to hide from them and open the dice in the bathroom.
If I hear a splash, I know that's a problem. And then you want to trade it to me, $5 shipping, send it over to me. But, I feel like other than the Crime Lord piece, like you got Quicksilver, Quicksilver Baton, you've got the Phasma, you've got Force Storm, I forgot about that card, you've got Palpatine. There's going to be some high money cards that actually might stay and retain their value, because you're going to lose all those Ancients and Force Speeds that used to cost money. If we're talking in terms of investment.
Let's not get too crazy, because we know that FFG cards, maybe one or two a set, maybe retain their value.
Exactly.
So if that's why you're buying these cards, I think your heart's in the wrong place.
It's a different game. Ray freaking tells me all the time, he's like, yeah, it's going to be great. Go ahead and enjoy your case chip, because there's one card in Dragon Super Ball Z that's like $300. What is it? Ultra super rare? What do they call them?
Yeah, it's a special rare.
Special rare. It's freaking
Wait, let me tell you about something. So we went to New Jersey, and I've been trying to get Paul to play this Dragon Ball Super, and he's like, yeah, man, I'm always down for new card games, traveling, whatever. I guess after 20 rounds of Star Wars Destiny, Paul just wasn't having it at the end of the night. And I bought 2 starter decks at the store, and I'm like, we're going to go back to Kyle's house, and I'm going to teach you how to play this.
Poor Paul.
This is what Paul did to me. I was like, are you ready? And he's like, yeah, I'll come over and check it out. And as he was walking forward, he's like, he grabs his bag and he's like, nah, I think I'm leaving. And he just leaves.
You were all excited. You probably had little Dragon Ball Z figures you were going to give him. I
didn't even take the little plastic strip, I didn't even take it off, and Paul was already walking out the door.
That's the story as told by Ray. As told by Paul, I told you not to buy those things yet. And here's the other secret about me is that after 9 o'clock, I'm out. I'm done. Those have been friends with me for a long time know that. You wanted to play at 4 in the morning, I can get back up and play. But 9 o'clock, no way. That's past my bedtime, bro.
I can see
there's
Ray,
no chance.
Ray's pacing outside. He's like, I think Paul's coming. Maybe I can get freaking Kyle. Maybe I can get Kyle to come. That'd be great.
And he got Kyle a little bit. He got Kyle on the Dragon Ball, right?
Yeah, I did.
Sorry. You're so excited. You really want you want that card to be good, that game to be good. I know. Go ahead, Drew.
It is good. It's great.
I'm gonna tell a Paul analogy real quick. You know how at the end of the day it runs low on battery? And then, that's it. You're down to the last 2%, and you're like, okay, I only super important texts and super important phone calls, no more Discord on my phone. That's Paul. Is when it's 9 o'clock and he's down to 2% battery, he's asleep on the couch, and you can poke him and be like, Paul, we need you to get up and move to the bed. But that's the most you're getting out of him. And until that battery charges back to 100%, you're not hearing from him ever again. That's the end of him.
I feel that's a secret.
There was no persuading him. I'm usually good with that. I can, I can be like, yeah, come on, just check it out. Just sit down. Paul wasn't having it. So
I think
I spent $30 for nothing.
Oh, please. You probably already sold them on eBay. That's all. The funny thing is during the stream, and I love the relationship you guys all have in ABG, because you can clearly hear it. And as you start to have little brotherly discussions on the show. But I love Drew doing the live commentary, and I think it was a match. I forgot. It was Frenchie, who's this guy who's in the local who calls himself this. I thought it was insulting, but he actually likes to be called that. Frenchie was playing somebody else, and he's playing this Vader deck. He actually normally plays Transformers. And you can hear Drew just get so frustrated. He's like, "What? I don't know what he's doing." There's only sequence of it. The only sequence he can that will actually get him his win condition is if and he didn't play the card, and you're getting so bad at him. He's playing the whole thing. It's great. Go back and watch it. It's so funny.
Frenchie is an awesome Star Wars Destiny player who he hadn't played Destiny. I'm going to say 5 months, and still top 4 of the New Jersey regional, which was a loaded regional. And just to give an idea of how good he is, and hopefully he's going to start playing more Destiny. He claims he's going to, but he's the guy who's just he's one smart decision away from winning every tournament. And I just saw it happening, and I was like, Frenchie, this moment, you need to just think right here instead of doing what you're doing.
Yep. No, it was really funny. You could tell you were rooting for him, but it was just really funny. Like, don't it?
Yeah, he was playing one of our patrons too. The guy who ended up winning, Edgy Sith Lord, Nathan Bastazzi, and I was just like, Frenchie's a local guy, he's my friend. And I was just like so frustrated watching him play. I was just like, Frenchie, like, come on, man, like better than what you're doing right now.
That's pretty
high expectations for my friends.
That's
Let's put it that way.
That's like Ray. Ray, like I can tell the one time I actually was with him when we were playing, and he just turned his back on me and walked away. He's like, I can't watch you anymore. This is terrible.
The worst thing ever is when you're standing behind your friend and you can't point out to them their mistakes. I mean, that you as a spectator, you can't interact with them. The worst thing ever is seeing the win condition and their opponent not interact with it, and then Chip just take a random card from his hand and go, I'll discard a reroll.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, the win is on the board. And
my friend,
it was rough.
My friend, it's about brand. Discard to reroll. That's what it's all about, right? Just stay on brand. Stay on brand, because this is where you're going to get the good stuff, right? Hey,
and
go ahead.
I'll
Paul.
tell you guys, man. Like I get a lot of heat about it on ABG, but there's nothing more fun than discarding cards to reroll your dice. Well, that's the best part of this game.
That's it. See, you got one, Drew. You got one for me about discarding to reroll anything?
Yeah, if you just discard to reroll 5 times, eventually you're going to hit me.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good way to play.
You hit damage,
Paul,
Ray.
What did you say to me? You said something like, what the most powerful thing in the game is? Discard to reroll, because you can get a brand new batch of dice.
That's right. I really embrace that playstyle, man.
That's it. I really thought
you guys like casinos. You're playing a losing game there too, right? I bring that mentality right to the table.
Exactly. When Ray gets really mad at the game when he came back, he says, "God, it's just a bad game. It's just really a bad game. Like, it's just too much chance, luck." Yeah, I don't know.
I'm telling you, but with certain cards in that format, it was getting a little crazy.
Laser tripwire. That's all I'm saying. That's the card. Hey, Paul and Drew, if people are listening, they already know how to get you. But like, what's cooking with ABG? Anything coming up?
Yeah, we got a lot going on. We actually just started a store, so if you want to get an That's Unfortunate ABG shirt, they're available for you now. That's like our new big thing right now. I was told I shouldn't plug merch because it's selling out, but I'm going to do it anyway. But check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Arrow Brook Gaming. You can go there if you want to join the Patreon of somebody who's probably never getting spoilers. So that's a good place to check us out.
Selling out? I don't understand how. Like, what's the alternative?
I don't know. Cody told me I have to plug. If I plug merch too much, we're selling out. But
tell Cody. Here's what Cody needs to do. Which, by the way, I say this with love. He's got to move that alarm clock in the back of his. Every time I see it, and like but like the cord is like balled up. Like it's not even straight. Like he doesn't care. The guy's like an evil genius back there. He's like, it's Afra. It's about Afra. I got all the cards with Afra. Like I wouldn't play it unless you want to play Afra. But like meanwhile, the house is burning around him. He doesn't care. The guy doesn't care. Make the bed. That's what good. Make the bed, Cody.
Cody's the man. He's great.
Whenever I think of Cody, I think you'll ask him a question and you'll be like, so Cody, what do you think about this? And he's like, the question you need to ask yourself.
Right. That's good.
That always cracks me up.
All right, guys, listen, thank you for being a part of this. We appreciate it. Go visit them on ABG and all kinds. When you got real stuff and you want to like really get better at the game, they're the guys. And Ray too. Ray, every time I say that, I feel like I'm talking about me, not you, Ray. Like I know
it really feels like that. It does.
No. And then Drew's brother too. We can have a special episode just for him and you if you want.
Best player on ABG.
Who's the guy? Fired. Who's the guy I met who had the fancy shoes, Drew? When I was out there, and you had the Pax Pox that time.
Oh, that's our friend Andrew. So he's like the casual ABG member. He's not like part of the competitive team, but he's like one of the guys who we started ABG with. So he's like the PAX killer. Like he's going to be the best dressed at every event you go to, and he's going to, he's the PAX fashion show.
Yeah. I love that I said the guy with the good shoes, and you knew exactly what I was talking about. That's the best part about it. And Paul, I appreciate you. I always send little jabs your way, just meant to be fun, like your the 9 hats of Paul in the back there. But I love the work that you do. You guys put out a great show every week. So.
No, I appreciate that, man. I'm happy to finally be on. I'm going to be real. I'm a huge fanboy. I listen to every one of your episodes, so thank you.
You and my mom. Thank you very much. Ray doesn't even listen to him, which just tells you all you need to know, but I appreciate that. Ray, what about you? How's the co-pilot doing? Anything interesting coming up with that? Ray's gone. That's it. That tells you pretty much all you need to know about Ray. Ray, for like 3 weeks, I'm trying to figure out, like, why can I barely hear Ray? Because he's using the website of Discord to record. I'm like, there's a program. He's like, what do you mean there's a program? You have to download it.
Discord has a website?
I think I'm back.
Oh, there he is.
Back?
Did your website crash? Did Chrome crash?
Every time my mic cuts out, I always have to come back to you talking shit. Like the whole time.
Right.
That didn't happen at all, Ray. We were talking about someone else.
Oh, Ray, this is all.
This is when you... I got 2 things to add.
Go ahead, Thunda. Do it.
Super glad that we had ABG on.
Yep.
And thanks for having us.
I constantly
That's not what he said earlier. That's not what he said earlier. But go ahead, Ray. Sorry.
No, and I constantly rotate who my favorite ABG member is. And as of recently, it's going to be Dave Caruana because he bought me dinner after the New Jersey Regional.
Oh, Dave's a good guy. Dave's a good guy.
Wow, he might have felt bad for you. And actually, I think Drew sent him to get his cards back.
Hey, I had the same record. Same record as Dave Caruana.
That's good. Hey, everybody, thanks for listening. Remember, when you're playing Laser Tripwire, we hope that all of your rerolls are special ones. Or Moxie, the card that's going to break the meta. The art that I'm going to give to Paul to hang on his wall. Thanks for listening.